Okay, so we're going to talk about one more story here. I'm dreading having to edit the Candace Newmaker stuff, but let's go ahead and get started with this one because I do want to talk about it. I want to end on a fun note. This is the story of the Coco de Mer. Coco de Mer. So the Coco de Mer, this was really fascinating to me. And I think it's just one of those stories that's fascinating to me because it kind of relates to how humans observe things and the stories we create from just observation. So the Coco de Mer is a coconut. It's about 40 kilograms. So what is that in like normal pounds? That's like 35 pounds, something like that. I think a kilogram weighs a little bit more. But anyway, so I'll just say 40 kilograms because I know that. It's this 40 kilogram coconut. So it's bigger than a regular coconut. It's actually the biggest seed on the planet. It's the world's largest seed. And what happens is, just like the coconut, they fall off the trees, and they'll just land in the dirt, and then a new Coco de Mer tree will grow. These are in the, well, how do you pronounce it? Seychelles? Seychelles? It's some island stuff. It's an archipelago in the Indian Ocean. Anyways, these Coco de Mers will fall and grow a new tree. Now you're going, but wait a second, Coco de Mer, like, is that like a mermaid? And I'm like, yes, clever man, you guessed it. What happens is, these things will also fall and roll off the little island that they're on. I imagine it's like a desert island, just like with one tree. They'll fall onto the water, but they're so heavy, they're not like a coconut. So a coconut will float across the ocean and wash up on the sea of another beach, and then a coconut tree will grow there. So that's how the coconut trees spread. That's why whenever you see a single desert island in a Far Side comic strip, there is a coconut tree there. Just a single one, because a seed floated from somewhere else. It's very weird. It's kind of like how like an amoeba would kind of like break off and spread. I don't know how amoebas work. But anyways, so the coconut will do that. A Coco de Mer is so heavy, it sinks to the bottom of the ocean. And then the furry part will slough off. And then it will be light enough that it will then float to the top of the ocean and then float to an island. But because the furry part is gone, it's no longer a fertile seed. So it would just float along and then it would wash up on the sea. Now, what happened was they refined these. There's two unique things about these things, other than they're the world's largest seed. You would find these things on the beach. And one side looks like a shapely woman's hips and thighs. And then you flip it over and it looks like a woman's buttocks. Or maybe a man's buttocks. I don't know if he had like that nice shape. But generally, they would find these giant seeds on the beach or floating in the water. And one side looked like a hot chick. And the other side looked like her butt. The front, the hot chick, and the back's the hot chick. It's the same hot chick. It's like a Kim Kardashian shaped coconut. And they would find these and they were fairly rare. One of them was bought for 4,000 florins, and I'm assuming that's the 4,000 gold florins as opposed to the silver florins. I'm sure that's a lot of money just because they're gold. But anyway, so you would find these things and they looked super sexy, and so people wanted them. And they're like, oh, dude, They didn't have pornography back then. And when I say back then, we're talking like way back in time. Like, so far back in time, it is before the 1700s. And the reason why I know that is because I have 1700s written on my notes here. Really good notes for this part of the story. So before the 1700s, these big seeds were floating around. People would find them as a shapely woman. People believed if you drank the juice out of them, it would cure all poisons. It was an antidote for all poisons. And it was also just like this really sexy thing to look at. Because what else are you going to do? You're going to have like papyrus porn? You're going to have like sexy hieroglyphics? No, you have this Coco de Mer. What's interesting about this, so again, when I was talking about the way humans observe things, is that, so they would fall off the tree from one island, sink to the bottom of the ocean, slough off, and then float to the top. Sailors would be sailing, and they'd see these seeds every so often pop to the top of the water, and they'd fish it out and be like, oh, this is sexy, I'm going to take this to my room. Captain's like, where are you going? He's like, oh, I'll be back in like 5 minutes. They knew they were seeds. They're like, hey, this is kind of like a coconut without the furry part, and it's way more sexy. So if you saw seeds floating up out of the ocean, and nobody knew where these plants were, nobody knew these were actual trees on an island in the Seychelles, or however you pronounce that. If you just saw every so often a seed pop out of the ocean, you would think There must be trees at the bottom of the ocean, and the seeds are falling up. So that's what they actually thought, that there was a forest at the bottom of the ocean, because just observational, based on observation, if a seed falls off a tree, you go there's a tree in front of me. So if seeds are coming out of the ocean, therefore there are trees at the bottom of the ocean. This then grew to the legend that sometimes these trees would get so high, that's what would create choppy waters. And then as time went on, they said, well, if there's trees down there, there must be birds down there. So they created the story of this giant underwater bird, and they tied it into local mythology. And it would eat ships that went missing, basically got trapped in these waves created by these trees, and the bird would come and eat them and stuff like that. Just based on observation, this whole story built up over the centuries. Seeds come out of the water, therefore there's trees under the waters. Birds live in trees, therefore there's probably a bird down there. And sometimes ships disappear. It's probably the trees and the birds. It wasn't until 1768 that they actually found the island with these on them, which probably really sucks for that guy who spent 4,000 gold florins for one, because then you're like, oh man, I could have just went there. I could have bought a boat and found them. Anyway, so they found whole trees of these things. They're fairly endangered now. But they found trees, and they found them with the coconut. They're still all furry and stuff like that. The story doesn't end there, because when they get to the island, they find these trees. Most plants have like a male and a female. I think some are the same. Anyways, these trees have male and female. The female is the shapely coconut with the buttocks and the hips and the thighs. The male one looks like a big penis. The seed that comes off the male tree is like, I don't know, 10 inches long and tubular. And the people are like, what? How, what? Like, what? And so then another rumor grew. At night, during storms, the two trees would knock together, and that's how they fertilized the tree. That's how they were able to fertilize the seeds. And if you ever saw two of these trees having sex, you went blind or you died on the spot. And what's even more bizarre is science can't figure out how these trees are fertilized or germinate. I'm not saying they're actually having sex during a storm, but that just added more to that legend that these trees are having sex. And to be fair, if any two trees in the world look like they could actually have sex, it would be these trees. Now, I know you're thinking, Jason, you've talked for about 10 minutes about what these trees look like, and it's a podcast. Fair enough. But I know for a fact that about 80% of you are now Googling Coco de Mer, and you guys you get like that. It looks like the Kim Kardashian of coconuts. It's bizarre. I think the fact that, and there's another legend that this may have been the fruit that Eve gave Adam for the Garden of Eden, but I thought he took a bite out of it. How do you take a bite out of a coconut? Don't you have to crack it open with a machete or something? Or smash it on a rock? If I had one of these I wanted smashed on a rock, dude, I wonder if I can buy one on eBay. I wonder if they go bad, actually. I wonder if if I bought one, it would just kind of molt in my apartment. I don't know. Coco de Mer, though, cool looking coconut, interesting story. I want one. I should start a Kickstarter to buy myself a Coco de Mer. Maybe that will be our first... Or would that be a GoFundMe? I don't know. GoFund my perverse desire to have a sexually attractive coconut in my house. That was a clip from our daily podcast, Dead Rabbit Radio. Dead Rabbit Radio is available anywhere that you listen to podcasts. It's daily paranormal, conspiracy, and true crime news. If you want to hear the full episode that this clip came from, check the link below. Please like and subscribe. And hit that little bell, too. That does some magical stuff. Thanks, guys.